What's the YouTube account?
Rise. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Finally.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
That's a joke.
Yeah, I got.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, I go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to fix it. Is that better?
First one go to Jason, then Leanne, then Eddie. All right. Hi, I'm Adam Robles, and I'm I'm board member with Rise Tribe. Rise Tribe is a nonprofit that focuses on powering the next generation of Filipino Canadians. Just want to thank you so much for joining our Tribe series today. For those that don't know, Tribe series is a concept that we reintroduced this year. That is essentially a set of monthly workshops that aim to expose our people to a more diverse set of career paths while giving them the opportunity to learn from leaders in various industries. We hope that this series will ultimately work towards pushing the culture forward. So with today, obviously with the coronavirus, we wanted to have a digital tribe series and more or less focus on Filipino Canadians, freelancers that are doing well in their industry, and finances. We are blessed and lucky to have three amazing freelancers in Jason, Leanne, and Edison. So just to quickly introduce them digitally, just for you guys to quickly introduce who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it, and of course your favorite Filipino dish.
All right, so my name is Jason Pagduan, born and raised in Mississauga. I've been doing freelance photography for about, I want to say like 3 months now because I just started this year. But overall, I've been doing photography for over 6 years, and my favorite dish is sinigang.
Yes.
Cool. My name is Leanne. I'm a designer and illustrator. I've been in and out of freelance for about 7 years. I was full time for my first 2, and then started doing it part time for the last 5. So right now, I'm working in tech as a designer. Trying to learn more about the business so that I could go full time again. I think more recently, I guess I've been doing more or taking freelance a little bit more seriously. Doing that for the last 2 years, selling art, as stickers and prints as well. And my favorite Filipino dish is kare kare.
Amazing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Edison Sigua. I've been in creative industry for about 12 years. But I was dabbling part-time as well for majority of it, and started going full-time for the last 4. My favorite dish is curry too.
All right, wonderful. So the agenda for today, we just have a Q&A with each freelancer within our panel. So the topics we're going to focus on are, of course, coping with COVID-19, freelance financial planning, ended off with a Q&A, and then finally we'll look to wrap things up and then providing next steps for you guys. So just to kick things off with Jason, would love to, essentially, in regards to your work, how has your day-to-day been affected by social distancing and self-isolation during this time?
It's been much slower than usual just because of, being around other people, being in large crowds, especially with a photographer. Like, you're around a lot of people. And so there's not much really to do except really be with yourself. And like, if you're going to shoot, like, you shoot by yourself or whatever style you do. So it's been very difficult to kind of just, freelance as of right now. That's pretty much how my day is going. I'm still like, networking through emails or social media, still looking for opportunities until it starts to kind of like die down and we're able to go out in public. So that's pretty much my day.
Amazing. Okay. So on top of what you just covered, are there any additional challenges that you've been experiencing as a freelancer?
I guess the main thing that a lot of people would say in terms of starting a freelance career is like finding your networks, on your own, or like finding opportunities that people will allow you to give your to show you what you could actually give to them, and then also finding like a long-term goal that you want to like achieve. You know what I mean? Because when you start off just like me right now, I just started 3 months ago as my own business. Started my own site with my portfolios. And then also just networking. It's been slow as of late just because people don't really want to take a chance on somebody who hasn't yet proved or been, showcased, throughout the community. So it's been very difficult, even though I've been doing it for a while. It's still kind of like you still like want to prove to people that you could be in this industry and sort of like still create the way they used to when you started out, because you don't want to lose that drive and that that desire to keep pushing yourself to be the best you could possibly be.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. So you covered a lot of like the skills and additional learnings that you're focusing on during this time. The government has essentially advised a lot of people just to wait out the virus. What would you recommend to people that instead of simply waiting out the virus, how to use this time to take advantage of the current social distancing?
That's a tough question because it depends on like a lot of people have been like making the state wanting to be like with the people that are around you, like family or friends, but it's good to always like connect through text or FaceTime or social media if you can't go see them. Or another thing too is avoiding getting people who are older sick, even though like younger people like us, we don't necessarily I guess will be much affected more than older people or your grandparents or your aunts, your uncles, your parents. But it's good to kind of like be aware, like, always to keep yourself clean, wash your hands and like just be mindful, like, just not getting sick really at the end of the day. It's kind of like what the government is just trying to tell you, like, just be very aware and be cautious.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. With freelancing, there obviously is a lot of stress, especially at a time like this, just because sometimes as a freelancer, you're more or less living paycheck to paycheck, or you might not know where that next paycheck comes. With this specific time exactly, with COVID-19, how are you approaching saving money, or how are you approaching saving money before, and how have you changed your approach now with given the current circumstances?
Just spend less, just keep, just focus on investing and, just keep saving. I know it's hard to do that, but, uh, that's what you got to do. Just keep moving on and, keep making that money.
Amazing. Okay. You touched on mental health, which is super important for freelancers. Just the ability to deal with stress, to more or less be the best you that you can be when it comes to your job. Every freelancer has gone through a moment where they are stressed about money. So what are some tips you would provide to freelancers that are just starting out at a time like this?
Say again. Sorry, that last part.
Yeah. So what are some tips that you would give freelancers who are just starting out during a time like this?
Don't, I guess, jump in right away to wanting to be a freelancer. Like, you gotta, make an income first to kind of invest with equipment and, laptop and, transportation basically. But you just gotta kind of gain experience first before you go out there and, try to get jobs and opportunities that people will eventually give to you, but you just gotta be patient with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Okay. Perfect, Jason. Thank you so much for providing that insight. So, jumping to Leanne.
Is that I'm starting to get into more of my student habits where I'm not having lunch and I overwork myself until 7 and then just binge eat for dinner, and it's not even nice binge eating, it's packaged ramen and stuff like that. But after work I'm definitely diving straight into bed and just looking at all the news and stuff, because that's something that I just can't avoid, I guess. Catching up on a lot of text messages and there's been a lot of video calls. I feel at this point it's not really social distancing, it's more physical distancing, because all of a sudden my friends suddenly want to be on video calls and this is something that we never do and I never see these people type of thing. So just everything kind of everyone wanting to be connected is amazing and it's great, but on top of that, the constant news and stuff like that, it's definitely been super draining.
Yeah, no, I could see that, especially in the tech community where everybody is online and available all the time. At least for my end, I feel like I'm more inundated with meetings that are taking place online. So, Eddie, what about you as a photographer and editor? How's your day to day been impacted?
It hasn't been too different hasn't been too different. Still wake up with my son. Before this all kind of happened, I was at the process of closing some projects, so I'm still catching up on a lot of invoicing. So this time has given me a lot of time in order to just kind of focus on that. So I haven't felt the full effects as of yet, but I'm sure that'll come in the next week or so once I'm done all this invoicing.
Yeah, for sure. With the encouragement of social distancing, what are some of the challenges that you've been facing?
Not too many as of yet, because a lot of my work I actually, because of the freelancing that I have been doing, I've been able to just work on my own, either at a Starbucks. So that's kind of just changed, just doing it at home now. So in regards to work, it hasn't changed that much. I haven't felt the full effects as of yet, because I've had the projects prior to in order to kind of sustain my life for the next little bit. So yeah, I'm blessed to have that. So it hasn't been too bad as of yet. But like I said, I'm sure I'm going to feel that in the next little bit.
Amazing. Okay. Leanne, with I guess with the time that you have available right now, when you're not in meetings, what are some of the key skills or learnings that you're focusing on?
So like having more of this free time, I've definitely hit up a lot of people to collaborate on some projects, some of the side projects that I've always wanted to do but never had any time to do. Right now, I'm collaborating with a friend who happens to be a developer. We're building a website to customize your own sneaker illustration. So that's like super fun and super useless, but like it's something that we just wanted to do and explore. So he's coding it, I'm designing it, and we're gonna release it hopefully for like Air Max Day maybe. But yeah, like doing that, like exploring different illustration styles, animations, focusing more on like the coding aspect of my skill set. Those are things that I want to focus on while I'm here.
Awesome. And Edison, with you, like with your learning, have you like doubled down on like, let's say, photography, or have you tried to pivot during this time?
I've been working on a bunch of different things, learning all the programs that I need to catch up on that is kind of required in the industry now. So even with video editing, After Effects, Illustrator, just brushing up on those things because I've been doing the same thing for X amount of years. I kind of got stubborn and I'm stuck in that kind of bubble. So definitely taking the time to learn as much as I can now that I have all the downtime.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So with freelance financial planning, Leanne, how would you approach saving money now? Or how are you approaching saving money before, and how would you approach saving money now with COVID-19?
I feel like I wasn't approaching saving money for a while. When I first started, I know like, I guess for me, like I didn't really know any better. I know that like I was always, I don't know, buying sneakers instead of saving money. Like, I think my responsibilities, like as my responsibilities grew and my expenses grew, I felt like I had to step out of that kind of mentality too. And like, I guess it's hard to think about saving money, especially when you have to pay for things like school debt, like rent, bills, and things like that. I think like the first thing I did was I just like laid everything out, like all my income, all of all of the expenses that I had, all the debt that I had, and then like whatever I had left out of all of that, just threw it into debt. Because I feel like like I didn't really save any money when I had all my debt, and only until then I started saving money. That was the way that I survived. Whether it made sense for anyone else is up to that person, I guess. But like I was only throwing in like less than $100 a month in a TFSA, and then after like even then I was still kind of like taking money and using it to pay bills anyway. So now with things, I feel like not much has changed. I think I was lucky enough to get ahead of all of this stuff and get like a financial advisor and talk to them about my plans and like the goals that I have financially. And yeah, like I feel like it's super important to be able to pay yourself no matter what. So I still throw money into that TFSA. I feel like the TFSA is definitely used as a rainy day fund, and it's raining now. So if things go off the rails, I think I have enough to go off for a few months. But yeah.
That's amazing. No, that's a lot of good insight. Thanks for providing that. Edison, what about you? What are you doing differently now when it comes to saving money around the coronavirus?
I've always kind of set money aside because I've been kind of running a production company on the side who handles music videos and larger productions. And I felt like a lot of my clientele liked the fact that I was able to pay everyone on time without any kind of trouble. So I've always kind of had the money on the side, and I've always kind of saved it. So I have a good safe cushion for the time being in order to make sure that everyone that needs to get paid or who's on salary with me does get paid. So right now we're okay. It's hard to say how long this lasts, what will happen then. But I've always kind of been on top of my finances prior to all this. So I feel like I'm okay for the next little bit. Really just depends on how long this kind of lasts.
Yeah. Have you looked at anything? Like, do you guys do you have an idea of how long you think they'll last, or?
No, I've seen like there's so many different rumors going on from different people. It's really hard to grasp what's really going to happen. Obviously, you're seeing what happens overseas in other countries, and it's scary that they're telling us that we're not even experiencing anything as of yet. So really, there's no telling in my eyes.
Yeah, no, I know we're kind of in scary times. Mental health is obviously super important, especially as a freelancer. Jason touched on this a lot, with just the ability to deal with stress and the ability to do it to deal with it well in order to be successful. Leanne, what would you recommend to freelancers that are starting out, that are stressing about money? Like, what tips would you provide them at a time like this?
I would say at a time like this, focus on your priorities. I think your health, physically and mentally, is probably the most important at this time. Acknowledge what those priorities are and make sure those are taken care of first. Mm-hmm. I know it's really hard to say that because like money can be a burden to our mental health, and I've felt that before. And I think looking around, I don't think we're really alone in that. There's a lot of resources floating around on social media, on like government websites and stuff like that. So I think it's important to stay on top of that and see what resources are actually available to you. Like this morning, there was some news about property taxes and stuff like that being waived, like student debt. Interest is being waived as well. So like being aware of that information and like being able to action on that stuff, I think that's super important. But I think like the overarching thing with that is like, I think the government hears us when we're talking about these kinds of things, and I think they're taking care of it, which is super nice. Weird thing to plug, like if any of you creatives are looking to find a new outlet online, Shopify is offering a 90-day free trial for anyone that signs up right now. So like if you have been sitting on this idea for ever, I think like now's a really good time for you to, if you need the money, sign up and start selling some stuff. Hope that wasn't a weird plug, but
No, that was a great plug. And they would just simply go to shopify.com and it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. Sorry? Yeah. So this is something that I wanted to open up the floor to all three of you. And we'll start with Jason. So besides all the tips that you covered already, what are 3 additional tips that you provide people that are just starting out? And essentially for anybody that would like to take that leap to become a full-time freelancer.
I guess first would be to kind of just hear an echo. It's weird. I would say the first is just kind of be confident with yourself in what you do. Obviously, just don't listen to people that tell you that you can't, because a lot of times people want to see you fail, but then hate it when you succeed. So I guess another thing would be to kind of just trust your instincts, and then also just build your brand. I guess if you're trying to build one, connect with those people who could help you build that. And it's funny enough that Leanne, you plugged that Shopify, because I'm actually starting to do merch, like hoodies with my design. So hopefully soon that could, work out for me. And yeah, Shopify would be a good plug.
That's amazing. And what about you, Lan? What would you recommend? 3 things that you would recommend to individuals that are just starting out as freelancers at a time like this when thinking about financing?
Yeah. So I don't really think it sounds like a financial thing, but I think it's important to practice self-awareness right now and take time to reflect on what your goals are. Like, I think taking a look at your own life to help you understand what it is you need to invest in, and how you can action on your goals. I think that's super important. Like, are you living at home? Are you taking care of family? So like, I don't know, I think in my own circumstances of having to support my own family, but like also having the dream of freelancing abroad and just like travel and doing fuck all, like it's hard to make that kind of thing happen so suddenly. So like for me, I've learned to be a little bit more strategic about the whole thing, trying to be patient with myself, saving the money. Saving the money is a super important thing because you don't want to just like go into it and just be like, oh, like now what? Okay, I guess I'll starve for a while. But anyways, I want to save money, dip my toes into freelance, observe what everyone's doing in freelance because like everything is changing constantly, and then making that transition. Another thing that I would suggest is also like because I'm coming from like corporate land already again, don't be afraid to look to corporations for freelance work. You're not selling out. I would say again, like going back to acknowledging the goals that you have. Not everyone's circumstances are the same, and you don't always have to be a starving artist to, validate yourself. So you're securing a bag at this point, right? Milk the places that do have money, and network with the people who do work at those companies, because honestly, like we don't have any visibility in a lot of creative individuals, and like it's up to creatives in that industry like myself to plug photographers and designers and illustrators to let those corporations know that they exist. Like I think that's super important. Also get serious about your finances. I wish somebody told me about this. Like my family is like, we never talk about family or not talk about finances. So it's really hard to find like a good role model or like some sort of model to, I guess, like, model yourself after somebody, I guess, when it comes to finances, because you never know when another rainy day like this happens again, right? So pay yourself always, no matter what that looks like, whether it's like automated monthly savings, even if it's just like $50 a month, like just do it. You won't regret it later. Getting clients to pay a down payment on a project up front, be on top of tax season, things like that. Read more books. I actually wanted to plug this one book that I read. It's called Worry Free Money.
Amazing.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Because it's a really interesting approach on financing, I think. It's definitely made me feel a little less guilty about saving money. And hot take, it tells you not to budget. That's worth reading. So I would suggest, just read more books. Like there's so many resources on finances. Just go look for it, I guess.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thanks for that. I think the biggest thing with all the information provided, you provided a lot of key insights, is to really get creative and kind of scrappy, right? With closing deals, with closing opportunities. I feel like a lot of creatives, they focus too much on the creatives when at the end of the day it's also a business, right? So really like identifying and building out internal processes just so they can really make money off of this and really do well. Okay, great. With Edison, what about you? What are some three things that you'd recommend besides all the key insights that you already provided?
They already took a lot of it. I think one thing I want to elaborate on is like being patient is very key. I started doing photography when I was like 20 years old. I'm like 32 now, and I've only started making livable money the last 3 years. So really being patient, because if my 30-year-old told my 20-year-old, like, you're not going to make any money until then, I wouldn't have listened. I would have been very stubborn. But so to be patient and stick with it, because there is going to be a lot of ups and downs. And if this is something you really want to do and you really are passionate about, you'll ride out those waves. Another thing is, I know a lot of people say networking is important, but networking the right way is really important, especially if you're starting off. Understanding who you're talking to and what you have to offer to them. Because a lot of times I'll get people just saying, "Hey, I want to work with you. This is my stuff," and it's not lucrative to me, and it's not good to just turn them down. But it's just not a you're not at the right time to talk to me about this stuff because I'm not at that part of my life anymore where I'm trying to build something with someone. And if that's the case, don't be discouraged. Keep the relationship. However, build a team around you. A lot of people think they have to do it on their own because there's so much negativity out there. There's so much comparison and all this other stuff. But you really got to build a team around you. And those are going to be some of your best friends. And on another note of that, keep your relationships. Try not to burn any bridges. There's like throughout that time I've been working, there's so many relationships that get lost. There's so many relationships that get ruined for this reason or that reason. However, everyone's still in that same industry and they could always help you out one way or another. So to really just hang on to the relationships or would really benefit you down the road because there's no point. We're all in the same city. We're all, if you're Filipino, you know that person or you know that person who knows that person. So it's going to be, you're going to bump into each other regardless. So just to keep those relationships, I think are key too.
I love
Sorry,
that.
that's
Yep.
Yeah,
That
plus
was
one to
great.
literally all of that.
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us again. Essentially, what we wanted to do now is end with a roundtable discussion with everybody to more or less wrap things up and provide any additional insight around freelancers and finances. So, I'd love to open up the floor to you guys. Do you have questions for each other on how to approach it, how to approach businesses, and essentially how to approach the current state of the coronavirus and navigate as a freelancer? Jason.
Eddie, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
So with you, since you direct a lot and you meet a lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of managers, like how do you manage like an entire group of people when you're like on set? Because I would imagine it gets crazy with people like running around and like trying to get, you know, your scenes and all of that. Like, I guess, I don't know how to describe it. Like just the overall set. Like, how do you manage that?
You hire someone for it. You basically you'll have on a commercial set, you have one person for every job, and that's where you kind of comes into what Leanne talked about is like making sure you get them the right amount of money in order to make sure that you could execute your job properly. So you'll have someone to talk to the talent. You'll have someone to hold a camera. You'll have someone to do the smallest things, and then you have a lot of assistants around you. So sometimes when you shoot, you'll have 10, 15 people on set. So like, and that way nothing gets missed, because I've also had sets where they're understaffed and we'll lose footage. So you could get really, you don't want to go through things like curves you'll get through on set. And most of the time you just have the right team around you. A lot of these guys I've been using for X amount of years, and they're also in the industry doing their own thing as well. So I know they know exactly what I need, and they'll execute it. So yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Because I just want to kind of get your intake, because to see how your, I guess, day goes, like when you're on set.
It's a lot of. It's not only just a set day. It's a lot of prep work. So we'd start prepping a week or two in advance, or even more, just to make sure everything is covered and any kind of problems that happen, we've already thought about. And then there's always going to be new problems every set, whether it's talent, whether it's client, or whether it's just someone on our crew. There's always going to be problems, and just to make sure you have that solid team in order to just simply find solutions quickly, just to make sure no one sees it.
Yeah, amazing.
So with all of that said, though, like you didn't have a team with you from the jump like that, right? So how did you do it when you started all of that? Like, it's not like you had that many people with you at the very beginning, right?
Exactly. Well, basically, it just started from relationships. It's just started. I was a PA on some sets. I would do grip. So I kind of worked my way up that way. And then I was able to build relationships with people who are also starting, who are also like-minded like me, and wanted to get out of a job or something like that. So I kept those relationships going. And a lot of the guys that I work with today are still like the same guys I met 5-10 years ago. And some of them are even guys I went to high school with and I never spoke to until I realized that they're in the same industry I am. And it's kind of like that. That's how I started. Yeah. Jason, I wanted to ask, how is it now, since you said you started going into this last 3 months? How do you find it now? Because when I probably started was a completely different time. This is when people just started vlogging. So like now it's a whole new world, and I'm just curious to know, how do you look at the industry now, or how do you approach it?
I guess right now it's a bit different, because basically when I started, like I actually started like this whole thing back in, I would say, November, as like my own thing. And like basically I just had to start from the ground up. And you know, I had to make sure like my finances was it okay, because I had to invest with camera equipment, my laptop. I had to, you know, start worrying about how much I spend a month, and then also just finding jobs to do, whether it would be you know, a photo shoot with somebody or actually going to events and all that. So I just started doing a couple jobs like for the OVO tournament, and then I did a SoundCloud event recently. And so I reached out to people and just kind of started to build my own network, or even use the networks I had and the resources I had from before, just like you kind of pointed out to. Take advantage of who you know, and just kind of build on that.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. So looking to wrap things up. Before we do, we of course wanted to thank each and every one of you guys for joining us on this Tribe series. This is really the first time we're doing this digitally, so we do thank you guys for taking the time on your Friday. I know you guys might have a busy night, but yeah, no, I'm just kidding. No one's going out. Is there anything you guys want to share about your business, or anything you just want to share, like personally or mentally, or just any key insights you want to share with our audience? Jason?
Sorry, I blanked out for a second. What was the question real quick?
Yeah, is there anything in addition that like you just want to share? Just key insight or anything you want to, well, first off, where can we find you? What's your websites and yeah, just any last insights you want to provide?
Twitter, Instagram at 905shooter, website 905shooter.com. That's where you find all my portfolios, all my work that I've done. And I was doing what you surround positive people, and then also just kind of do your part in finding the right people. Like, you never know who you meet that could actually potentially help your career, and then actually financially grow you and make it a career full time, because that's the biggest problem that a lot of people find is making that leap.
Amazing. Okay, great. And Leanne, what about you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's mccaspec.ai, but it's spelled mxpc.ai. My website is mccaspec.ca. You can check out some of the prints and stickers that I have in there. If you like sneakers, if you like Pokemon, it's all there. I guess like my last words to you is to just don't forget to be kind and patient to yourself, to the people around you. Whatever it is you're feeling right now is totally valid. We're all going through this together. Don't forget that you do have a community here for you. And yeah, if you guys ever need like any help with anything, just feel free to slide into my DMs on Instagram.
Okay, great. Thanks for providing that, Leanne. And to wrap things up, Edison, where can we find?
You can find me on Instagram. It's Eddie Wolfskin. Right now, my company is going through a transition, so our site and everything is down. We're looking at converting into a new space and figuring all that out. So that's been a big halt because of this whole virus that's going on. But yeah, you could always follow me on Instagram. I'll probably post a couple of things of that happening. My last word of advice. Work hard. A lot of people just bank on their talent, and it gets 5 years down the road, your talent's not going to really do anything for you if you keep losing relationships or clients just because you think you're too good. Like I've seen that happen quite often, and now they're begging to get back in it, or they've missed some huge opportunities that they were a part of just because their ego got in the way. So just really work hard, understand to do. One thing I want to say is like I find that a lot of young guys don't like to do jobs, or they're not 100% in it if it's like a corporate job or something they don't want to do. Like put 100% into everything, because like you never know where that's going to go, or you could just get paid. So you'll win either way. So just make sure you work hard. That's it.
I love it. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much for joining. For everybody that's at home, we do thank you for your support and for joining us on this. free to send messages to us on our platforms. We'll curate a list, and then we'll get these questions answered by them. Wanted to thank Mark Valini. You guys can't see him, but he's actually on the back end managing everything behind the scenes. For more on Rise Tribe, you can follow us at rise_tribe. Go to our website, risetribe.ca. Just to allude to everything that our panelists said, I mean, this is a difficult time, but we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. And you know what? We're going to come back bigger and stronger. So we thank you guys so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful Friday.